Tommy, did you ever think there was more to podcasting than being really, really, really ridiculously good looking? Zoolander, coming up next. Haven't seen it with Tim Sestito and Tommy Tevene. Hello, everybody. Welcome on in. Thank you all so much for listening today. This is a podcast where one of us is watching a movie for the very first time, and today that is Tommy. Tommy,
Yeah.
what's it like to watch a movie for the very first time?
Great. I mean, this is a movie that, like, on a technicality, I've seen bits and pieces of this movie like for years on Comedy Central, and like
It's just been memed to death.
I
Like
just
half the
never
movie's
sat.
been memed to death.
Yeah, exactly. That too. And like, I've seen like a big chunk of this movie before, but just never from start to finish in like one sitting or something. Technically, not even one sitting tonight because I had to watch this the second half right before we recorded because I fell asleep at like 9 o'clock at night because that's how I do.
Yeah,
But yeah, I like this movie a lot. It was funny.
if you've been a long time listener, you know that Tommy loves falling asleep during movies. It's his national pastime. Mine is baseball, which is also coming up.
Mhm.
Opening day this Thursday.
I'm shocked we didn't do a baseball movie this time
I
for
kind of I kind of forgot, to be honest. But Tommy, first time watching Zoolander, we'll dive deeper into that movie. But we want to talk about a movie that we both saw over this weekend.
John Wick.
So hot right now.
John Wick.
We both saw John Wick 4 over the weekend, and I would love to know your thoughts because did have we ever shared the story of John Wick 3 that we saw together on this podcast?
We have it on our main feed, but we did mention it on the Film versus Film podcast, so we guested on this past week about John Wick and R-rated action movies. We saw John Wick 3 in Times Square this like 3 or 4 years ago with our buddy friend of the pod. I probably should have mentioned him, but whatever.
It's fine.
Yeah, whatever. And he was a few drinks in, and we saw the movie in 4DX, and he managed to pass out during the 4DX. And like I looked to my right, and like the chair's like shaking us because like a bullet or something like that are happening, and was just passed out in his fucking chair and just like snoring soundly, and the chair's pretty much rocking him to sleep and keeping him asleep. It was amazing.
So if you've never so one, I met Will beforehand, and he was at a bar in the city. It was a rooftop bar, and it's a really cool bar. It's James Bond themed, so like it's like got that aesthetic of the 60s, 70s James Bond style, like really cool bar. He was probably three martinis deep.
Yeah,
And we so yeah, from there he fell asleep. And if you've never watched a movie in 4DX, one, don't. It's terrible. It's a terrible
yeah,
idea. It
not good.
definitely took away from. We were like, oh, this would be sick. Like these movies are like roller coaster rides. But the roller coaster ride works in Universal Studios when you're in the seat for 3 to 5 minutes at a max.
Yeah,
When you're just constantly getting like water dripped on you throughout a 2 hour movie, it sucks. It sucks
yeah.
hard.
Or like every time a knife would happen or something like that, or a punch would happen, you'd feel it. Like the chair would punch you briefly. I was like, I don't want to get abused by this fucking chair throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, so don't see John Wick 4 and 4DX if you're in one of the limited areas that does have 4DX. Don't do it. Actually, I don't even know if John Wick 4 came out in 4DX, but John Wick 4, it is the talk of Twitter. I saw a tweet and it was like, it's very funny. The discourse around pretty much any John Wick movie release is just positive from everybody. Like
Mhm.
you don't hear anything bad about John Wick movies when they come out. Everybody's just like, oh yeah, that's cool. I'm gonna go to a movie theater and watch John Wick kill people for 2.5 hours. And that's
Yeah.
exactly what this movie is. I
So
feel you have to view John Wick though, like it plays in the rules of its own universe, and you just have to realize that he is a video game character.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, that's where they get the inspiration from, and like the gun fu kind of stuff, type of stuff, and even to the point that like Keanu is a mostly silent protagonist throughout these movies, especially in this new one. I was just reading an article before we recorded about how I forget the exact number count, but like
It's
John
like
Wick doesn't.
330 words or something in the
Yeah,
entire
yeah,
script.
and this is a 3 hour movie practically. So like throughout the whole movie, John Wick doesn't say much more than like just a few sentences or like just like yeah.
Yeah.
He's literally a video game protagonist. I mean, this movie was good. I will say we were talking earlier about how I love to pass out during movies. Seeing this movie at 9 o'clock on a Saturday for a 3 hour movie was a big mistake for me. My buddy and I that I saw the movie with, at certain points we both had to fucking like slap each other awake. But it wasn't the fault of the movie. I'm not gonna blame the movie on that. I'm gonna blame that me and over my expectations being too much for myself.
Yeah, you can't do a 9 o'clock movie anymore, man. It's just not in the cards for you.
No,
Like I feel like Endgame is your last late night movie that you're ever going to be able to do.
I don't know how I used to do like fucking like those midnight screenings, like when we saw like the Dark Knight Rises and all that stuff at midnight.
You were 20. You could take over the world when you're 19, 20.
Yeah, that's true. I guess as a matter of fact that we're closer to our 30s.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, what I love about the John Wick movies is that they always premise on like leave it on the question of John Wick wants to be out of the game. Like he started out of the game, then his wife died, then they killed his dog and he comes back in. And it always messages on the theme of like, John, you've said for 4 movies now that you want to be out of this, but you are a killer. Like I thought the villain was great in this. The young like French guy, he was
Bill
awesome.
Skarsgård, Pennywise himself.
Yeah, he was excellent. Donnie Yen, scene stealer, he was amazing in this.
He was amazing and hilarious, and like he brought a levity that this movie kind of needed.
Yeah, he brought the levity to the movie that it needed. If I had any complaints, there were a couple of action sequences where it literally just felt like a video game of like endless like grunt wave, especially when they were in the hotel in Japan, which was so like at the Continental in Japan, that was so cool. And then like they have the one fight scene in the room with like all the art pieces and stuff like that, and it went on for like close to 15-20 minutes before Donnie Yen even walked into the room, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, if
Like
there's one thing...
it's fun to watch, but like it's a 3 hour movie. Like we could have trimmed this a little bit.
Yeah, if there's one complaint, I mean, like it would be the runtime. This movie had no business being 3 hours, and like the action scenes were all great and they were fun, but after a while, I mean, like there's only so many times we could see similar action scenes over and over again before it just kind of gets repetitive or whatever.
I give the movie a lot of credit and the direction a lot of credit because they're able to make any of the action sequences like you see every angle of the room that you're in the setting that you're in. There's the great stair sequence right before the end of the movie. That was
fun.
That was fun with a really like nice moment of levity too. Halfway through it, and then at the end of that sequence, it's like there was the guy that was nobody, where it just felt like he had his like payoff, quote unquote, but it just felt like they wrote a moment where they needed somebody to do something and to help John Wick. And then they were just like, well, what if we had a character? And then they kind of like backtracked him into the movie a little bit. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
he just like didn't feel necessary, but like the style, the ambiance, like it's so much fun.
These movies are the definition of like style over substance, really. I mean, like this movie is all about style. I mean, they're like, few on dialogue, just mostly about the action. And for the most part, I know I just said it was a little repetitive at points, but for the most part, it does keep you engaged. And even though like I was watching this kind of half asleep at some points, it still felt really good in that aspect. And you can watch this movie half asleep and still get a lot of enjoyment out of it.
I wouldn't say it's style over substance. I would say it's style over reality, because I think they do a good part of like weighing the anchor from everybody else's perspective and giving everybody else some sort of motivation to be involved. Like Winston has a great motivation to be involved. And when he tries to contact John again, like you don't know if it's going to be from a friendly point of view or from a negative point of view because of what happened to him at the beginning of the movie. I think it adds that like interesting layer to it. It's not one of those movies that just like moves you along, and that's just with the franchise. And just the weight that they put on John as a character, and like that defining of, does he actually want to be free, or does he just want to kill people for the rest of his life? Like that's pretty much, who he is. And I think the beauty of this movie is that it, at the end, it leaves that question pretty much unanswered, which I think works in its favor. So John Wick 4, I'd give it a 4 out of 5. Definitely go see it. A lot of fun. If you've seen the other John Wicks, the crazy thing is I've seen all the John Wicks, and like I always just forget the plot of them because they're always just like
Interchangeable. I mean, the only one I
Yeah.
haven't seen, I've seen all of them but two. I need to go back to the well, but I agree with you. I mean, it was a really fun movie overall. I mean, I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5. I mean, overall, I did like it a lot, but I felt like there was some stuff that I could have left on the cutting room floor.
Yeah. Yeah. But you know what? I respect the director for just like having the power to be like, no, I'm gonna make a almost 3 hour John Wick movie. If they're gonna do
Yeah.
it with all the superhero stuff, like you might as well do it with like a
Fuck
movie
it.
that actually deserves that kind of runtime.
And it's the same director throughout all 4 movies, which is insane. You don't see that a lot in franchises.
Well, what was it? Who's he? So him and another guy. Here, wait, hang on. Him and another guy.
Technically,
Star-
the first one was co-directed.
It was
He
co-direct, and
Yeah.
they had a nasty split. It was it's Chad Stahelski and David Leitch.
David Leitch, yeah, he's the guy that did Deadpool 2 and
Yeah,
Atomic
but
Blonde.
it's very funny how like their career paths separated when they did, because like he kind of just went and did like standard run of the mill like Hollywood stuff. Like the Deadpool movies are fun. Like the first one was just like such a shock at the time that it came out. Deadpool 2 to me, like I was like, I never need to ever revisit that movie again.
It was funny, but yeah, exactly. I mean, I haven't watched it since, but I mean, like the thing is, at least this guy's doing a lot different from filmographies, and he's doing more creative stuff. Whereas Chad Stahelski, or whatever the fuck his name is, he's his filmography is only John Wick 1, John Wick 2, John Wick 3, John Wick 4.
No,
Whereas this
but
guy,
I no, but I respect that about, because like all the John Wick movies are so good.
they are.
All of them are so good, and he's a stuntman in the Matrix movies.
Mm.
So like obviously built that relationship with Keanu, and just like completely understanding stunt coordination really shows in this movie. So John Wick 4, go see it. And this is Zoolander.
He's the most famous supermodel on the planet. Now,
The Prime Minister must be eliminated.
he'll be called upon to save the day. We need your help. He just won't be able to spell it.
Daiye.
Friday, meet the new face
They're breakdance fighting.
of danger. Ben Stiller,
If you find the files, you can stop them. They're in the computer.
They're in the computer?
Zoolander, rated PG-13. Starts Friday every...
So Tommy, Zoolander. So you'd seen bits and pieces of it. How did it feel as a mostly cohesive 90 minutes for you, since apparently you can't even stay awake through 90 minutes of a movie?
Yeah, I had a few drinks last night. So I mean, I think that's probably the main reason why I fell asleep so early. But no, I mean, overall, I thought this movie was hilarious. I mean, I was laughing throughout. I mean, some scenes in this movie just like, and some set pieces are just hilarious. I mean, like Zoolander itself as a character is just hilarious. Ben Stiller's giving his all right here, and even like the ancillary characters. I mean, like his own dad, Jerry Stiller, is like batting 100 here. You know, all the side characters are batting 100 here.
Well, that's not his dad. That's not his dad. That's his manager, marketing.
Well, his in real life dad.
Oh, right. Well, his real life dad. Yes, yes. But yeah. So one of the things I noticed on this watch around is like how many stars there are who just make very ancillary appearances. Like it starts off with Trump and Melania Trump, and then
Yeah, what age the worst right there.
and then you have like David Duchovny makes an undercover appearance, Judah Freelander's in this, and then you have like all these models and stuff, like Heidi Klum's in this, Winona Ryder makes a random cameo, David Bowie makes a cameo, like Natalie Portman, so many just random, like star-studded, like very much a star, even though it's just like little moments here or there, like very much throughout this entire movie, it is a star-studded flick. And it adds to create the reality of this world. Like, obviously it's just obscure and not obscure, but it's heightened reality. It doesn't play by the rules of the real world, but it does layer on a weird thing where slightly political, I guess you could say. The plot of this movie is that the fashion industry controls low cost labor in Malaysia and other parts of the world, and the prime minister of Malaysia wants to get rid of that, and Mugatu, played by Will Ferrell, wants to have him killed and needs Derek Zoolander to do it. So that's the main premise. If you've never seen Zoolander, it's so funny throughout. It's one of those movies you just wish didn't just flood the internet constantly.
Yeah, because exactly at this point, I mean, like, the Mugatu saying like, "Oh, Hanzo's so hot." That's like a meme you see everywhere nowadays. I mean, like, this is just a movie that's been like quoted to death. I mean, I remember like back in the day, people put on Facebook like that the college I went to was the Derek Zoolander School for kids who want to read, who can't read and who want to learn to do other good stuff too.
Yeah,
I mean, that was a meme in itself too.
that's a meme in and of itself. And then there's which I think is the funniest moment from when I was a kid, when I first saw this, when they do the where he loses male model of the year for the fourth time in the row, and then they're like, "What could we do to cheer ourselves up? Like, let's go shopping." And they go get like the drinks, and then they go to the gas station to fill up. They start having the gasoline fight, and then he walks away because the guy throws the Time magazine in the trash, and he's like, Eric, no, and he's like lighting this. Like, that is so fun. It's so funny.
I mean, in the matter of it, I mean, that scene I think is the highlight of this movie comedically, because I remember seeing that scene on Comedy Central back in the day, and that's what stuck with me in this movie a lot. And the use of "Wake Me Up Before You Go" is just so fucking funny. That song, I think, to me is like one of the most hilarious songs ever. Where, like, I just play that in my car sometimes with my friends. My friends always just be like kind of embarrassed. I'm like, "Nope, we're doing this. We're doing this cheesy ass '80s song right here." And they capture the spirit of that song in such a fucking hilarious way, and just the juxtaposition of these guys doing the gasoline fight and then immediately blowing up. It's just like, so dark and so fucking hilarious in just a way that like the movie didn't need a scene like that at all.
No, but it did, because it creates the like elevation of these roles. Like, all right, how are we gonna get Zoolander back to his home coal mining town, where we learn his father doesn't care for him because he's not a coal miner. He's a male model. He's an embarrassment to him. He's watching the game in the bar with his buddies, and then he comes up as a merman. Ooh, 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 like doing the blue steel face. Like, it's so funny.
Yeah. I mean, they just add like things over and over and over again, and like last month we covered Meet the Parents, and that was Ben Stiller in more of like a straight man kind of role to an extent, and this is showing his comedic chops where he can be the straight man and also be like the goofy idiot, like wild character right here. And
he's not the straight man in this. What are you talking about?
No, I'm saying in Meet the Parents.
Oh,
he's more
as that he can do both. He can play an absurd character. Yeah. And it's different from like most of his like extreme performances, because it's usually like the guy from Globo Gym, where it's macho man. Like, I think of Happy Gilmore, where he abuses the grandma. Like,
even Tropic Thunder, his character's like that. Yeah,
where he has the anger and stuff. I mean, the straight woman in this movie is Matilda Jeffries, played by Christine Taylor. And I pulled this clip up. This is when they go into hiding at Hansel's fortress. And there's something about the end of this clip that I found so funny on a rewatch this time. After Christine Taylor gives like her whole spiel of why she dislikes models.
When I was in 7th grade, I was the fat kid in my class.
Ew.
All right, forget it.
No.
Be cool, Zoe. Come on.
I'm sorry. Please, go ahead. My mistake.
I was the one that all the pretty girls used to make fun of. It was an awkward phase. Anyway, every day after school, I would come home and, I'd flip through the pages of my mom's Vogue and Glamour, and I look at these women, these perfect, beautiful, just unbelievable, skinny women. I just couldn't, I couldn't understand why I didn't look like them. I just didn't get it, so I became...
What?
bulimic.
You can read minds.
It's when you throw up after every meal.
There's just something so perfect about that delivery. You can read. After this whole, like, what's the emotional weight of this character? Like, who is she? You know, she's just kind of the nosy reporter that, you know, works hard at her job. That's all we know about her. And then we get her motivation, and it's just undercut with the most perfect joke that you could not expect. And especially in an industry like modeling, where pretty much all of them know what bulimia is, very common.
Yeah.
And in the video version of, like, when you're watching it in the movie, like, Owen Wilson's reaction is just perfect, where his eyes are just open. He's like, his mouth is agape. He's just
He did that.
Yeah.
Owen Wilson's perfect casting. I mean, like, you know, this is the second time we covered a movie with the two of them together, Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson, in the span of a month. But I mean, like, his character here is just like bounces off Ben Stiller in a way where, like, they're two idiots, but like in different ways. It's slightly, but it works.
they have this. It's the arrogance where the stupidity comes from, and just the lack of, like, wanting to even try to understand anything about the real world that like makes it so funny. And one of the things I thought of, I'm like, this is kind of, and I know this isn't Adam McKay, this is Ben Stiller directed this, but, you know, you think of the Will Ferrell, like, Anchorman, Talladega Nights, Blades of Glory, like those movies, they were cast from the web of, like, average American man who's an idiot. Like, that's the idea, but in a position of power. And then, like, this one doesn't get lumped into that, but that's kind of what this, like, the joke of this movie is like laughing at how ridiculous some of these people can be because they have some fame and some, you know, and some power and clout.
Yeah.
I think it like gets lumped into that. But in terms of movies, let's call it 2000 to 2005, like, where would this, like, sit for you amongst comedies of that time? Because that's a pretty powerful era of comedies that came out.
I think that this is probably up there with, like, maybe not A tier, but maybe like the B plus tier. You know, this movie, I mean, like I said constantly, like, throughout the episode, this was playing throughout Comedy Central all the time back then. And this is a movie that just, like, you know, there's so many good comedic stars like Will Ferrell before he blew up, and Owen Wilson and Ben Stiller at the height of their powers. I mean, this was like only a year after Meet the Parents, and, you know, right when Ben Stiller was like, could pretty much have a blank check to do whatever he wanted. It sucked though, the timing of this movie. This movie didn't fully bomb at the box office, but it didn't do as well as I expected, because this came out on September 20th, 2001. September 28th, 2001. So, like, 2 weeks after 9/11. And a lot of people were not ready to fucking laugh at a movie about political assassination at the time.
I'm surprised this didn't get delayed to, like, 2002. Like, I feel like you just have to shelf it. Like, when we covered Dr. Strangelove, there was the JFK assassination. It was supposed to be released right for Oscar nominations, and it was like, yeah, no, we cannot release this movie. We're gonna just put it out in, like, March.
Yeah, and like, you know, even critics, like, sometimes were saying, like, in some stuff where you know, they said, like, oh, like, this plot is, like, really insensitive, and, like, this is Roger Ebert himself said Zoolander is a victim of bad timing, and just people, you know, they probably would have made a lot more money at the box office if they just delayed it even, like, a few months. I mean, this did do terrible. I mean, it made like 60 million on, like, a 28 million budget, but, like, still, you kind of would have figured out, like, this would have been great.
This would have been a huge hit if it, you know, if you know,
It was so soon to 9/11 that there were literally shots of the World Trade Center in this movie.
Oh yeah.
And Ben Stiller digitally removed them. Like panic rushed to digitally remove them. I gotta imagine.
I mean, what are you supposed to do? I guess it's different now at the time because I would imagine there's just a ton of marketing, press, like all that stuff. I still feel like,
I was reading an IMDb thing on that IMDb trivia that apparently in New York, an ad for Zoolander 2 was interrupted by a news coverage of the World Trade Center. Like that's one of those like weird lost media things you kind of think about, where it's just like literally like that was pretty much just took over the consciousness for a news cycle. No one gave a shit about Ben Stiller being the male model all the time.
yeah, and like as they should.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'm proud of us, Tommy, for not making 9/11 jokes. I'm proud of us,
Well, wasn't the only bomb in September.
Yeah, I mean,
and there we go.
Listen, usually it's me who takes the dark jokes, but man, you really collapsed down on it.
So this movie like had an interesting like little thing where like apparently Ben Stiller did this like Derek Zoolander type character at the VH1 Fashion Awards in like 96 or 97. He kind of rolled off. I mean, Ben Stiller is a great sketch performer. I was watching the Ben Stiller show. Have you ever seen that before?
I have not seen. Was that an HBO show?
It was like a Fox show that lasted for a season in the early 90s, and it was Bob Odenkirk, Ben Stiller, and Andy Dick, and Janine Garofalo, and Judd Apatow wrote for it. And it was just a great comedic show, and like it just showed off how many different characters Ben Stiller could do. I mean, like if that show could have easily ran for seasons and seasons and seasons, but like for a reason it didn't. Instead, we got him doing like all these different characters.
Because they had Andy Dick on there, but
Yeah, and well, Andy Dick was in this movie. Andy Dick was almost going to be Will Ferrell's character. What's his name?
Talk about dodging a bombing.
Yeah, seriously, right there. I mean, Andy Dick is at this point. I mean, like we don't need to go on the litany of stuff, but I mean, like it's the point where like that show Love that came out a few years ago. They had a punchline being a character was hit a rock bottom because she was hanging out with Andy Dick.
Yeah,
like,
that's what Andy Dick is like now known as. I still don't fully understand the fascination with Andy Dick. Like I never found him funny in pretty much anything he's been in. He just seems like one of those guys that got popular in the 90s and then turned out to be a terrible, terrible, terrible human being. And now he like a lot of people that have done a lot of bad stuff in Hollywood can end up making a comeback. Andy Dick, nope,
not whatsoever. I mean, like he returned for Zoolander 2 also. So I mean, like, but that was like his last movie role. And at this point, it's just like so much toxicity with that. I mean, there's a joke that like if you lived in LA for a while, you probably have an Andy Dick story being a creep to you.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like Tom Sizemore passed away recently, and he had been open about his struggles with drugs and like crime and things like that. He's a great character actor in the 90s. If you go through his Wikipedia page, he was not a good dude, allegedly, on a lot of stuff. And there was a lot of public outcry for like, he really struggled. Like, deep down, he was a good person. Like people saying that. Like when Andy Dick passes, he's probably not getting that treatment.
No, I doubt there's going to be a whole thing. People are just going to be like, oh, well, this asshole is dead.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So, and so we mentioned about all the celebrity cameos. Which celebrity cameo do you think was your favorite in this movie?
I thought the Winona Ryder one was just so funny. Like, it was just so unexpected. And especially at that time, that's like after her peak.
Yeah.
And then they just like slide her in there of her like flirting with Derek, like super hard. It was like right after he got brainwashed. It worked.
This was like, I think maybe like 6 months before she shoplifted all those things and like her career tanked, but they caught her a good time. I don't know if I'd call it a cameo or not, but like David Duchovny in this movie I think is hilarious. I mean, my favorite line in the whole thing is when he tells the whole assassination plot to Ben Stiller, and then he's like, but why would Milan? He's like, what? I literally told you. Are you kidding me? That's a gif I use constantly.
So Tommy, did you notice the Rocky reference in Zoolander? Did you catch it?
I vaguely, maybe.
So when they do the walk off.
Oh yeah.
And
oh yeah,
sitting back, and he's like, "You got to cut open my eye. You got to cut open my eye."
Yeah.
It's like, there's a lot of little movie references in this too that were like funny from well-known movies. It's this movie is a good example of a movie from that time where it doesn't feel like a cultural like time box. Like I feel like a lot of times those late 90s, early 2000s movies, they feel like they kind of constrict themselves to like a lot of pop humor from that time and a lot of like references that would only be funny in that time, like making Fred Durst jokes, making Britney Spears, like doesn't have any of that. Like the humor just comes from the characters, and the humor comes from just like the absurdness of the situation they're in.
It's much more character based. I mean, like I'd never seen Zoolander 2, obviously, but
Yeah.
apparently one of the reasons why it's terrible is that like they just over rely on celebrity cameos over and over and over again. It's the butt of the joke, and those jokes are like probably not going to age well whatsoever. I mean, like think of like like Date Movie and Epic Movie and stuff like that. When you watch those movies, they probably age extremely poorly because literally it's just reference after reference after reference of like pop culture at the time, and it's not funny after a while. It's just like, oh, like Snake's on a plane joke, whatever. But like this is character based mostly, and the humor is more so in the absurdity of these characters than it is, hey, look, Trump's here. Oh, look, Natalie Portman's here. I mean, like, yeah, there are some of the jokes, but they don't overwhelm the movie.
But it's those aren't they're not even that much jokes, the celebrity or cameos. It just adds like a level of authenticity to the characters. Like that's where these celebrities would be at high-end fashion shows, fashion week. That's where these people would be. And it just gives a level of realism to what's actually going on. And like
exactly, it's more setting the table. It's more like exposition, where like that's the beginning of the movie, the montage of like all these different celebrities saying how much they love Derek Zoolander and stuff.
Yeah,
so
and because like I said, David Bowie's in this. He doesn't do anything. There's like a shot of him sitting in a chair during the walk off, and
I think he's my second favorite cameo. And I do remember that his Oscars in memoriam was him literally coming up and saying, I might be of service. That was the clip they pulled for his Oscars memoriam.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like they just have those, like none of them. Yeah, again, it's the joke is not at the person, like the celebrity's expenses, and it's not about like, do you know that this guy is popular right now? It's just like, oh, they're famous people, and this is what they would do.
All I remember of Zoolander 2 was like, like DirecTV or whatever those, like my mom's a cable service on demand. When we were trying to look for a movie, they would constantly just play like the trailers over and over again. And Zoolander 2 had a trailer joke that was like talking about how, like, why'd you kill Justin Bieber? And Will Ferrell's character was like, you have to ask me why I killed Justin Bieber? Ha ha ha. It's like, that is such a boring joke.
Lame boomer humor right there. Like, it's a bad Facebook meme. Is what that joke is.
Exactly.
Speaking of Mugatu, I think Will Ferrell is one of those people where he needs a really good character, and I think sometimes his best performances come when he's not the leading man and he's just more limited. And I love the scene where he gets Derek to finally come in to work on the project that's AKA to assassinate the Prime Minister of Malaysia. And I think it's just a good indication of the two characters of Zoolander and Mugatu.
Well, to tell you the truth, I was a little hesitant at first, Mr. Mugatu. I mean, you've never hired me before, and I've been around
for ages and ages. You've been around for a long, long time. I never wanted anything from you. And now you're retired. I can't have you. And it's funny how it switches like that. But now the forbidden fruit must be tasted.
Well, when Maury told me what you were willing to do, I...
Todd! Are you not aware that I get farty and bloated with a foamy latte?
My mistake, Shackleby.
Your mistake indeed.
Oh.
Yes, Derek. What Maury said I was willing to do for you. Let's get back to the reason that we're really here. Without much further ado, I give you the Derek Zoolander Center for Kids Who Can't Read Good.
is this?
A center for ants?
What?
How can we be expected to teach children to learn how to read if they can't even fit inside the building?
Derek, it's just a
I
small...
don't want to hear your excuses. The center has to be at least 3 times bigger than this.
I love that sequence, and I felt like it was the best way to illustrate both of their performances in this. Where Will Ferrell it's basically the Devil's Wears Prada, but to a much heightened extreme. And like with the foam latte, he's like, that makes me get, and he just spills it all over his assistant. And then the Zoolander Center for kids who can't read good and stuff, and it's just a model, and he's like, what is this? A center for ants? Again, it's one of the most quoted lines in the movie, but it's so well delivered. Like, I feel like people don't see it in the context of the movie. They just see like a still picture of it when it's like a reply to something where it's something dumb. Like, it's so well delivered, and it shows like the intelligence level of these characters. But like, this guy wants to open an education center, yet he is not smart enough to realize that that's a model.
The juxtaposition of it. I mean, they just bounce off each other, and like, I wish that like Ben Stiller and Will Ferrell were in slightly more comedies together, because they do bounce off each other. I mean, I can't remember off the top of my head like all the different ones they've been in, but still, I mean, like, this movie just like is just great in terms of that, just great comedic energy. I mean, like, even like Vince Vaughn pops up. I don't think Vince Vaughn even says a single line in this movie, but he's still fucking hilarious when we see him on screen.
And John Voight was also great. Actually, we'll jump into it because there's so many people, so many performances.
Star. I'm a star, I'm a star, I'm a star. I am a big, bright, shining star.
So, Tommy, who is the star of Zoolander? I feel like this is a good time to talk into like John Voight as Derek's father, Jerry Stiller as Maury, his agent. There's just so many like little performances that are only in there for a couple of minutes, but they're so good and so funny.
Even the fact that like Mila Jovovich, I didn't realize that was her until like looking up the cast afterwards, as like the Russian like spy. She was fucking hilarious too. But I mean, like, Jerry Stiller is amazing. I mean, John Voight, I wasn't sure if it was Robert Patrick or not at first, because that John Voight in the early 2000s looks like Robert Patrick today, the T-1000 himself. But I have to go with Ben Stiller. I mean, I just think that like his just reactions, his just like overall face and mannerisms are just cracking me up. Like, even in the gasoline fight where he's just like bubbling around, just looking so fucking goofy and stuff like that. He just like hit my funny bone in a way that was great.
Yeah, I think this is Ben Stiller all the way. It's one of his most iconic performances. Maybe besides Tropic Thunder, his best comedic performance, in my opinion. There's a reason that this movie just gets played over and over again on Comedy Central. Like, literally, they're just diving into the depths of memeage with this movie, where it was like, I'm not your friend, bruh, right? Like, that was the latest one that came out of this movie. 22 years after it's released. It's one of those movies, it's timeless to watch. Definitely not one of those movies that you can watch like multiple times a year, but if you give it like 5 years in between your viewing and then you put up Zoolander, you'll be like, that's a really funny movie. Like, it needs that.
There's some scenes that like it's weird because this is one of the movies that we've covered that like I've seen scenes of this movie fucking over and over and over again, and like still I just this is a cable movie 100%, because like this is a movie that you would turn on Comedy Central, HBO, wherever, and you'd be like, oh, like they're doing the David Duchovny scene right now. I have to go watch this right now. I mean, like, there's so many great little heat checks throughout this movie that are just incredible to see. But overall, I mean, Ben Stiller's obviously the rock that keeps it together. I mean, he directed this movie too. He's very clearly the star of this movie. So it's disappointing that Zoolander 2 apparently was god shit. Like, but take what you get.
That's what happens to comedies 20 years after. It's
doesn't work as well. Yeah,
it's just a victim of circumstance. Maybe if this movie made $100 million, they would have made Zoolander 2 in like 2003.
Probably would have been just as shitty for all.
It probably would have been a little better, but
yeah.
Are you ready, comedy partner? Waka waka.
Tommy, does Zoolander work as a Muppet adaptation?
Yeah, I mean, this movie is very like goofy and cartoony in a lot of ways. I mean, you could see a Muppet adaptation where it's just like, would you keep Ben Stiller as the only human, and the rest would be Muppets or something like that? And like, the person who's like the Owen Wilson character instead is like Kermit or something like that, where it's just like, oh, like Muppets are so hot right now. They're so in.
I just want to keep Jerry Stiller as the human, because anytime he says "I got an enlarged prostate," I just think of Frank Costanza, and it's just perfect. And
Yeah,
just for that line alone, yeah, I mean, you probably just keep Derek Zoolander, but I don't know if this one would work as well as a Muppet adaptation, because it's not like physically goofy enough. Like the movements are so tight because they're models, like it has to be. Like it's not it's not slapsticky enough for me. Like, yeah, some of the Muppets could deliver the jokes, but I think I don't think it would translate as well as other comedies would.
yeah. I mean, there's a certain take to it, but yeah.
Tommy, review time. Give me your score out of 5.
This is a really fun late watch. I watched this last night with a few drinks under my belt, and I think this is probably an ideal way to watch this movie because it was just very funny and just made me laugh out loud. I mean, I don't know about you, but when I watch comedies by myself, I usually don't laugh out loud that much. But
Yeah.
this one did it for me.
Yeah, this one had a few that makes you actually laugh when you're watching a comedy alone.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna go 4 out of 5. I think this is a really fun movie and a great performance by Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson. So
Yeah, I'm gonna go with 3.5 out of 5. Again, I don't think we're that far off on it. I just think that's kind of where it lands. Like, just very funny movie, very loose plot that the characters just get to play off of. It's not super, even though the stakes are technically high, it's taken with a grain of salt, and it's just terrific performances, heat checks all around from the entire cast. Like legitimately laugh out loud, funny moments, even if you're watching the movie alone. I think it's one of those movies that they'll still be talking about in 20, 30 years from now because it is just that funny. And it's one of the relics of like the last great comedy runs that like movies had, because then in the 2010s, you just didn't get that. So 3.5 out of 5. Great comedy. Definitely recommend it. So Tommy, any final thoughts?
So one thing I wanted to mention that was there must have been something in the water in 2001 because this had a lot of parallels to a movie we covered around the same time last year, Josie and the Pussycats. It's the same pretty much basic plot when you think about it, just skewing the entertainment industry in terms of like fucking and using the pop stars or male models as assassinations or mind control techniques. So I did find a lot of funny parallels within that, but so yeah, it's kind of interesting.
I just still think of the girl that I sat next to who sung every word to every song throughout the entire time. And I was just like, oh, Tommy.
Is that your main takeaway from Josie and the Pussycats 1 year later?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So, well, anyways, follow us on social media at CNETPod. That's on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And you can also leave us a 5-star review, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Really helps us out. And we're gearing up for April. We're still finalizing the schedule, but we're gonna have some good movies. So stay tuned.
Yes, stay tuned for April. Thank you all so much for listening today. We will see you next time.